This isn't just a story. It's a journey, one that'll stay with you long after the video ends. So if you've ever felt love, loss, betrayal, or hope, then stay with us. Because this story deserves to be heard from the very first second to the very last. If this video moves you, even for a moment, please give it a like. Leave a comment telling us which part hit you the hardest, and share it with someone who needs to feel something real today. And if you love stories that are raw, emotional, and unforgettable, then subscribe to the channel, because we don't just tell stories here. We bring them to life.
Some books are meant to be read, but some are meant to find you. Ava never believed in fate. She believed in receipts, rent, and routines. At 26, she worked at a quiet art gallery downtown, spent her weekends watching reruns of romantic comedies, and swore she'd never fall for a guy who owned more hoodies than books. Then came the notebook. It was a rainy Tuesday. She ducked into an old second-hand bookstore to escape the weather. The kind of place that smelled like dust and memories. As she browsed through the shelves, one small leather-bound notebook slipped off the top and landed at her feet. It wasn't labeled. No title. Just worn-out edges and a faded strap holding it closed. She opened it just out of curiosity. But within the first page, she froze. I never said goodbye the right way. Maybe because I didn't know how. Maybe because I didn't want to. The handwriting was messy but emotional. Every word felt like a wound. She flipped to the next page. I still remember the way she laughed when she was trying not to cry. That's how I knew she was pretending to be okay. Ava sat down right there on the floor. Her heart pounding. Who was this man? And who was the woman who haunted every line of his notebook? He bought the notebook. The cashier didn't even know where it came from. For the next 3 nights, Ava read every word. Each page felt like a chapter in a novel that hadn't ended. The man, his name was Liam, had written it like a journal. But instead of writing about his life, he wrote to someone. Letters, poems, memories, all dedicated to a woman he'd loved and lost. Some pages were angry. Some were tender. Some were so heartbreakingly raw that Ava had to stop reading just to breathe. You didn't break my heart. You just took it with you. She couldn't help herself. She had to find him. It took days of online digging. Old scribbles in the back of the notebook hinted at a small cafe in Brookline. A faded receipt was dated 2019. She called the cafe, pretending she'd lost touch with an old friend. Liam, the owner said. Yeah, he used to come in here. Sat at the same corner table every Sunday. Quiet guy. But haven't seen him in years. Ava's heart sank. Until the owner added, I think he works at the bookstore down on Ashby Street now. Last I heard. She took the next train. The Ashby Street bookstore was even smaller than the one where she'd found the notebook. She stepped inside. The bell above the door chimed softly. And there he was. Behind the counter. He looked older than she imagined. Maybe 31, 32. Scruffy beard. Tired eyes. Like he'd been carrying the weight of too many yesterdays. She walked up slowly. Can I help you? He asked, polite but distant. Ava held up the notebook. I think this belongs to you. He stared at it. For a long time he said nothing. Then quietly he whispered, Where did you find that? She told him. The bookstore. The rain. The floor. Her voice was shaking. I read it, she admitted. All of it. His expression didn't change. But something in his eyes flickered. You shouldn't have, he said. I know, she whispered. But I did. He looked down at the notebook. That was never meant to be read by anyone else. I know, she repeated. But I couldn't stop. Silence stretched between them. Heavy. Honest. And then Liam said something that sent chills down her spine. That's not a love story, he said. That's the story of how I lost everything. Liam didn't ask for the notebook back. He just looked at it for a long time like it was a piece of him that had been missing. Or maybe a piece he had finally let go of. Ava placed it gently on the counter. I didn't come here to judge, she said softly. I came because I felt something. In your words. Liam gave a tired smile. That was a lifetime ago. She nodded. Maybe. But it still matters. He looked at her like she was speaking a language he hadn't heard in years. A language made of trust and hope. But then he backed away. Look, I appreciate you finding it. Really. But I'm not that person anymore. That notebook is a ghost. And I don't believe in ghosts. Ava didn't argue. She just said one thing before walking out. Well, I do. And I think sometimes ghosts come back when they still have something to say. For the next week she didn't go back. But she couldn't stop thinking about him. She remembered one specific page from the notebook. If anyone ever finds this, know that I wasn't trying to be remembered. I was just trying not to be forgotten. He didn't want to be remembered. But somehow she couldn't forget him. On the 8th day she returned. This time with coffee and banana muffins. He looked at her with a mix of surprise and something softer. I thought you weren't coming back, he said. I thought the same, she replied. But I couldn't stop thinking about the man behind the notebook. Liam sighed. You're really not going to let this go, are you? Nope. For the first time he smiled. Really smiled. They started talking. Fully. Not about the woman in the notebook, not yet, but about everything else. Books, music, childhood memories. The kind of conversations that didn't need a destination. Every evening she'd stop by. Sit at the back table while he worked. Read. Sip coffee. Wait. And every evening he'd join her. Bit by bit, word by word. Then one rainy night she finally asked. Who was she? Liam froze. Ava leaned forward. You don't have to answer. I think your story matters. And I think someone should hear it. He looked out the window. Thunder rumbled in the distance. She was everything, he said quietly. Her name was Elena. We met in college. Fell fast. Fell hard. The kind of love people write books about. Ava listened, heart in her throat. We were engaged. Had an apartment, a cat named Leo, even planned the name of our first kid. He smiled just for a second. Then she got a job offer. Abroad. Big publishing house. Dream job. I told her to go. Said we'd survive the distance. He looked down. But I didn't survive the silence. He paused. Then added, one day she just stopped calling. Stopped writing. And then, she was gone. Ava whispered, she never came back? No, Liam said. But the words did. I couldn't scream. Couldn't cry. So I wrote. Page after page, hoping it would bring her back. Or at least bring me peace. He looked at her then, eyes raw. It never did. Ava reached into her bag and pulled out the notebook again. I know this sounds crazy, she said. But I think maybe it was never meant to bring her back. He raised an eyebrow. She continued, maybe it was meant to bring you forward, to something new. Liam stared at her. I don't believe in you, he said. Not after her. Ava smiled gently. That's okay. I believe enough for both of us. Something shifted after that night. Liam didn't say it out loud, but Ava could feel it. The walls around his heart, the ones built from pain and silence, were starting to crack. Not because she broke through them, but because he finally wanted someone to. They began spending real time together. Lunches at the Riverside Cafe. Evening walks that turned into hour-long conversations. He started showing her his old sketches. Little doodles he used to draw of people sitting alone in cafes. He said he never showed anyone those pages before. Why now? She asked once, smiling. He looked at her. Because now. I don't feel so alone. They never labeled what was happening between them. But the glances lingered longer. The silences felt fuller. One night she reached for his hand while crossing the street, and he didn't let go even after they made it across. It was soft. Natural. Unspoken. And Ava found herself falling. Not for the man who had written the notebook, but for the man who was finally learning how to live beyond it. Then she showed up. It was a Saturday. Rainy again, like the first day Ava found the notebook. Liam had gone out to grab coffee and Ava was behind the counter reading. The bell above the bookstore door jingled. A woman stepped inside. Elegant. Poised. Carrying the scent of expensive perfume and unfinished stories. Hi, she said, eyes scanning the store. I'm looking for Liam. Ava stood up slowly. He's out right now. Can I help you with something? The woman smiled faintly. Tell him Elena stopped by. Ava's heart stopped. Elena. The Elena. The one he had written pages for. The one he never stopped aching for. The one who vanished, and now without warning was here. She left a card on the counter and walked out as quickly as she came. When Liam returned, Ava was quiet. He noticed immediately. What's wrong? She handed him the card. He froze when he read the name. Then softly, she was here. Ava nodded. She wants to talk. Liam didn't say anything. He just sat down staring at the card like it held the key to a locked door he thought was buried forever. That night they didn't speak. Not really. Ava said goodbye early and went home. Liam didn't stop her. She lay awake for hours staring at the notebook on her nightstand. She wasn't just the love of my life. She was the reason I believed in life at all. Those words hit differently now. Suddenly, Ava wasn't sure if she'd ever truly had a place in his story. 2 days passed. No texts. No calls. On the third morning, Ava made her decision. She walked back to the bookstore, this time to say goodbye. But Liam wasn't there. The shelves were being dusted by a new assistant who barely looked old enough to drive. He left early, she said. Told me to cover for the day. Ava nodded, trying not to let her voice shake. She turned and walked away. That evening she sat at her apartment window, staring out into the dusk. She picked up the notebook one last time. It felt heavier now. Not just with his past, but with her unspoken feelings too. She flipped to the back page. To her shock, there was a new entry. Dated just yesterday. I once wrote pages to a woman who walked away. But today, I wrote this one for the woman who stayed. If you're reading this, Ava, I'm not with Elena. I'm standing outside your door. Her eyes widened. He ran to the door, swung it open, and there he was, soaking wet, holding a bouquet of paper flowers, folded from pages of the notebook. I'm sorry, he said. I needed to see her, to finally say goodbye. But when I looked at her, all I could think was how badly I wanted to be here. With you. Ava stared at him, heart pounding. Why me? She whispered. Liam smiled. Because you didn't just read my story. You helped me rewrite it. Rain was still falling when Ava let him in. He stood there, dripping wet, holding those delicate paper flowers made from his own past. Pieces of a notebook that once held his pain, now reshaped into something beautiful. She didn't speak. She just stepped aside. He walked in slowly, like he was afraid she'd vanish if he moved too fast. I'm sorry, Liam said again, his voice barely a whisper. I should have called. I should have told you right away. I didn't want to hurt you. You didn't, Ava said, her eyes glistening. You scared me. But you didn't hurt me. He nodded, taking a shaky breath. I needed to see Elena to understand something, he continued. She was a chapter. But you, Ava, you're the whole story. They sat on the couch, the notebook between them. Liam ran his fingers over the worn cover. I thought I had to finish it alone. That healing was a solo journey. But maybe we're not meant to heal alone. Ava smiled gently. We're not. He opened it to the last page. Then handed her a pen. Will you write it with me? He asked. He didn't hesitate. She took the pen and slowly wrote. This is not the end. This is where the real story begins. Days turned into weeks. They became each other's routines. Breakfasts shared, inside jokes formed, quiet moments that didn't need filling. Ava helped Liam open up his artwork to the world again. He started sketching in public, even sold his first drawing to a woman who cried when she saw it. You captured loneliness and hope, she told him. Liam smiled. That's what she gave me. Ava knew he meant her. One afternoon while cleaning a drawer, Ava found a second notebook, brand new, still wrapped. On it Liam had written, For Ava, the rest of our life. She looked at him, surprised. I figured, he said, if you're going to be part of my story, you should have your own pages too. She opened the first page. It was blank. but at the top he'd written, Page 1, the day I stopped writing about the past and started living the future. They didn't rush into anything. There was no grand proposal. No dramatic speech. Just the kind of love that grew in silence and safety, slow, steady, and soul-deep. But one day, under a sky full of stars, Ava turned to him and said, You were right. Some stories find you when you're not looking. He smiled. And some people are the chapter you never knew you were missing. 6 months later, they hosted a small art and poetry night at the bookstore. Friends gathered. Candles flickered. Music played low in the background. And at the end of the night, Liam walked up to the little microphone and pulled out the notebook, the one that started it all. He flipped to the middle and read aloud. To the woman who made me believe again, thank you for finding me in my words, and giving me new ones to write. Ava's eyes filled with tears. He turned to her and said, This time, I don't want to write another goodbye. I want to write a forever. Later that night they sat together on the bookstore floor, the same spot where Ava had first opened the notebook. Only now they were writing together. A new notebook. A new beginning. A story not built on loss but on what came after. Puzzle piece final ending line voiceover style. Some love stories are written in ink, but the ones that stay forever? They're written in hearts.